Well, good morning. That's a picture of the nice bridge, or Nice Bridge from Maryland, which is across here into Virginia in the Dahlgren area, on US 301. I think I showed you that last spring when I went down to Colonial Beach. But this time I went farther. There's another picture closer up with some kind of plant on the Maryland side. And this is this is the bridge on the Rappahannock River near the Chesapeake Bay, near Kilmarnock, Virginia. That was Occoquan. Here's the video of Nice, the Nice Bridge again, a real quick video that I took again, surrounding area with the Sony camera. No, this is the bridge near Kilmarnock. It's a kid laughing there. And then um, also that's another picture of the night. No, this is that the other one was with the Casio. This is with the Sony. This is a different camera. Let's go back to some pictures of Richmond. I also spent a little time in downtown Richmond, which I'm going to talk about a little bit. Here's just a series of pictures from the phone. That's the flats area east of Interstate 95 down in the valley. That's looking up the valley. That's the state office building there, the tallest building. That's from an area a little bit farther north. You can see downtown across I-95. And that's a street near the Capitol. And that's the railroad station, which is very spectacular. The Union, and then there's again a picture of the um, bridge, the Rappahannock Bridge, and there's a picture of Kilmarnock, and that's a picture of the Nice Bridge. Um, and one other thing, a free VC poster that I saw recently while in town, and just wanted to talk about something briefly. Well, come on, and show you a couple of maps. Here's a map of Richmond, and um, you'll see the James River going through it, and you can drive up 95. And the downtown area will be west. Most of the buildings will be west of 95 as you drive up north, a major highway. And then 64 comes in and then goes back out comes in from Williamsburg and goes out up to Charlottesville. And this basic geography, the James River cuts through it. And then we can take a look at another similar city, which is Austin, Texas, which is also a state capital city. And it has about 3 times the population, but that's because it has about 5 times the city area of Richmond, because it's annexed a lot more. And Virginia, it's difficult to annex, for cities to annex. It's easier in Texas, I think. And the Colorado River snakes through as a dam up here in the hill country and snakes through. And then as you're driving up 35, the downtown, very much like Richmond, the downtown is off to the west and north. You go up through here and you get in Congress Street and get up to the state capitol. And we can look at the geographical, what it looks like. And we can go back to this one and look at the geographical here of Richmond. And what I think is interesting, because I was in Austin in April, at the end of April, for the Creator Camp Studios Film Festival, and was very struck by the city. A lot of young entrepreneurs are moving there and are moving there and living there, and lots of new buildings. And the downtown area kind of reminds you a little bit of a sort of a Manhattan, sort of a Manhattan. And whereas in Richmond, even though it looks like a city that's laid out geographically almost the same way, the buildings are not, there aren't very many really tall buildings. The buildings look more colonial. There's more row houses. The architecture is totally different. It looks like early, a little bit like an extension of Williamsburg, but with some tall buildings. But Richmond kind of has a little bit of history for me. If I go back to, that's Austin, Richmond, compare the two, because the night I was inducted into the Army, I think February the 8th of 1968 in downtown Richmond. I think I've talked about that before, but I went down the 7th and didn't get there in time for the induction. And they put me up in the Jefferson Hotel, which is, at that time, it hadn't been renovated and hadn't been modernized and made into a luxury hotel like it is now. And I remember thinking I had the room to myself for the night. And I went out to a movie, went out to see Valley of the Dolls. This is my last night as a civilian, having just gotten out of graduate school where I had the power to grade papers and grade students as an assistant instructor, as well as get my own master's, and went from that to being in the Army and then winding up in special training at Fort Jackson a few weeks later because of my weak physical condition, which might have been from childhood measles, actually, learning more about some of these dyspraxia, some of these conditions, why I was behind. Studying that, why I had my own problems as a result of all the interest recently in gender identity and everything. I didn't have that issue, but I had problems growing up physically. I was way behind. And the Army actually fixed some of that. But anyway, I went in with special training, but I went in, had the room to myself, and then another roommate came in. He was also a college graduate. He was going to be inducted the next day, and he took off his shirt. His chest had been horribly scarred by a chemistry accident where somehow sulfuric acid was poured on him. It was like a nightmare dream. It was the most bizarre incident the night before going to the Army you could ever imagine. I still remember that. The worst possible fantasy. Sometimes I feel a bit like I am in a Truman Show myself, that there are just too many things that happen that have to do with my own world, mental world, and everything that then happen to be coincidence. I seem to attract these kinds of things. And that's going on throughout my life. And I just still remember that incident about downtown Richmond the night before. And then the next day I was sworn into the Army and took a bus down to Fort Jackson. And then got off the bus and went into the reception station around 2:30 in the morning. The next morning, I guess February the 9th, and then the Army started. So that's just a little story. But anyway, I just wanted to share this little trip. Some of it I had done before, the Nice Bridge, but I just wanted to share this little trip. There are not very many pictures of that bridge on the Rappahannock at the end, just before Chesapeake Bay. It's about 60 miles from the Nice Bridge, from where you get on Route 3 to it, and then you come back over to West Point, where the paper mill is, and then which I visited on a field trip in high school, and then get on 64 and go back to Richmond, which I showed you the pictures of. But that was just a little day trip last Saturday, and I just wanted to share that with you today. And we'll get on to the serious stuff about my new book, rewrite, pretty soon. And I do thank you for listening.